Goligoski with the Women 2.0 in Conversation series here at Parisoma with Julia Hartz, the co-founder of Eventbrite. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about where Eventbrite is currently at.
Sure.
And I know you've had some exciting news this week.
Absolutely.
Take us through it.
So Eventbrite is basically the best way to publish, promote, and sell out an event online. We cater to event organizers who are creating an event and who need to sell tickets and promote their event online. We also are looking to engage attendees and ticket buyers as well who are looking for relevant events to attend in their area. So kind of running the broad spectrum of the event ticketing life cycle on both the organizer and the attendee side. And you know, we're always looking for ways to make our event organizers' lives easier. And so this week, we're really excited to have launched our first iPhone app, which is catered towards event organizers who are working the door at their event and trying to check in attendees in a quick manner. So we have, as a team, worked at a lot of events around the city and have understood the pain points that event organizers have when trying to move traffic through their door. And so we used that knowledge as well as technology to create this great iPhone app that's super easy to use and anybody can use it. It syncs up to the Eventbrite servers, so it checks people in a real-time basis, and it's just very intuitive. So we're really excited about that.
And I imagine that mobile is something that you've been asked about on and off for the past year, and probably is becoming an increasing part of your profitability.
It is. It's something that everything that we do product-wise, we look at how can we make our product easier and more efficient. And so really we're looking at this as the first stepping stone to something much greater. And obviously we're very excited about the launch of the iPad, which you can imagine could be very useful in this type of setting. But we're also looking at different uses for mobile in the way of making our event organizers' lives easier, as well as being relevant for our attendees and ticket buyers to find great events.
And where was the seed of this idea, even before kind of the mobile app?
Sure.
Where did the idea for really empowering event organizers come from?
Absolutely. It came from 4 different areas. So my husband and co-founder, Kevin Hartz, and I, and along with our third co-founder, Renaud Visage, we got together and started talking about this space. And we talked about how there was really a tactical approach. So we had an acute expertise in online payments. So my husband was involved with PayPal early on and had founded Zoom, which was international money transfer. So we had that domain experience there. Then we talked about sort of the theoretical, which is like, we had this large market, this large industry that was quite stagnant and devoid of innovation. So there was a large player that was very, expensive and cumbersome, and nothing really else for anybody who was holding an event that wasn't a large event. Then we talked about sort of environmental. So we were noticing that events were still at the time and are still being marketed offline. And we thought that was really an inefficient way to reach potential ticket buyers. And then lastly, it was personal. We felt that we were finding out about events after they happened, and that was really frustrating to us. And so we wanted to find a place where we could find relevant information based on our interests and where our friends were going.
We recently talked as part of this series with Eileen Gittins, the CEO of Blurb.com, the book publishing company, and it would seem in some ways analogous to the work that Eventbrite is doing, the idea that you can empower people online to then go and make something in the real world easier.
Absolutely. That's what fuels us. That's what excites our team, is the live experiences. So we feel so excited about enabling and empowering event organizers to bring people together in a live experience around an event. And that's the magic of Eventbrite. That's what gets us up every morning, and that's what really just, I think, just fuels our excitement for what we're doing.
How do you know when someone is a good fit for the company?
We hire based on, on expertise and on passion and on focus for what we're doing. So I think that, we're building a really special company and something that we can be really proud of. And what we're really aiming to do with our team is build a sustainable culture. So we look at, our brand tenets of our product and how that maps to the brand tenets of our team, of our culture. And those have to align on some level, right? But really it's that passion and that drive to change an industry, to be part of this disruptive business model that really gets us excited when we meet new candidates.
And I imagine that for you, your husband, and your co-founder, who works in Paris the majority of the time, that kind of dividing up the pie becomes a challenge. And so how do you decide who manages what? And I imagine that's kind of been an ongoing process in the years you've been in business.
Absolutely. So when we first began, we were 3 people for 2 years. So we were a live service and we were building our product, but we were iterating on it for 2 years, very product focused. So the way that we divided up the company during these 2 years of bootstrapping and not taking salaries was Kevin was sort of the overall strategist and product development. I took on marketing, customer service, and finance, and Renaud built the site. And it was a beautiful thing to have Renaud in Paris because we had this 24-hour dev schedule where Renaud would build the site while we were sleeping and we'd QA during the day. And now, our roles are always shifting. So, we're still in those domains in some sense, but I'd say that as our company has grown to over 50 employees, we are always sort of finding our way where we can be most useful to the team and being able to guide people who are smarter than us in those areas. We went out and in the beginning and recruited people who were better than us and knew more at customer support, at marketing, at finance, etc. I mean, that's how you build a successful team. So now it's our job to not get in the way and to be helpful.
And across marketing, finance, and kind of growing and maintaining the company culture, what have been some maybe unexpected roadblocks along the way where you learned in ways you wouldn't have anticipated?
Sure. I mean, we've been really lucky where we haven't had one of those moments where we've really had to change, direction. To the contrary, we actually could never imagine the sort of effect of social media in the way that events are shared, and that we knew that events were inherently viral. We knew that there was something special there where the sharing of events would be a really great path to growth, but we never imagined that the advent of Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn would have such a profound effect on our business. I'd say that one of our challenges in the early days was really taking big risks when we thought that maybe it would have an adverse effect on our customer base. So an example is when we went from a freemium service to a paid service. We agonized over it because all of our interests are aligned with our customers at all times, and we felt like we would lose some customers. But in fact, our conversion went up. There was little to no churn. It wasn't even a blip on our radar. We kind of kicked ourselves for agonizing over it for so many months. So,
but I think that listening to the community and having concern about whether people will stay or go is a major concern.
Absolutely.
And at this point, what do you do to ensure that event organizers keep coming back? Because I imagine that repeat business is really imperative.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think it's one of those things that we're actually working more on now as we're attracting, a lot of new event organizers, thousands a month. And so how do we re-engage them beyond just having a great product and a great service and delighting them with our support? So those have been our 2 areas that we've really excelled, which is customer experience and helping them to promote their event and sell more tickets and have just an overall delightful experience with Eventbrite. So I'd say that one of the areas in which we're working on is beyond that, right? Beyond doing what's right and providing them with a great service, how can we re-engage them and have them, maybe have them host more events per year, be inspired to do so because of Eventbrite.
And I would like to talk a little bit about your personal work experience,
Sure.
having worked at MTV and FX, kind of in the online or the TV entertainment business. In what ways has this been different or potentially more rewarding, kind of being more entrepreneurial?
Sure. When I made the decision to leave the television industry and join Kevin and Renaud, I didn't exactly know what I was in for, but I had 2 years of close observation of this world through Kevin's eyes when he was founding Zoom, and so I knew that it was something special and that it was something that would really challenge me. And so I feel like this industry is much cooler than the entertainment industry, just because I feel like we're really making inroads into something new and unique, and innovation is just south of market especially is just teeming with innovation and creativity. And so it feels like we're doing something new and cutting our own cloth rather than conforming to something more traditional, which is perhaps how I felt a little bit in media and entertainment.
And for people who maybe have a steady, daily work life, what recommendation do you have of knowing when the idea is worth making a sacrifice for? Because I imagine that was a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to do it. So you just have to leap. I mean, we are sort of big believers in, not talking too much about the idea before you actually just build it. I mean, we bootstrapped our company for 2 years and were able to build a product that was excellent, by the time we started to expand our team and raise money. And so I think it's possible. I think that the tools out there today and the resources that we have at our fingertips make it possible to actually build something, start getting users, start talking to those users, start understanding if this is something that's going to be sticky and have some traction.
What part of the idea do you think most resonated with funders after that 2 years of bootstrapping and building when you were ready to hire a larger team?
Sure. I think two things. Most recently, we raised $7 million from Sequoia Capital, and during that process, I learned two things, which is the market, so the market size in the industry and how much potential there is, and two, execution. And really that seems so cliche to say, but it's true. I mean, we went in there and said, this is what we told you we were going to do, when we chatted a year ago, and we did it. And that was really like this, had this profound impact on the people that we spoke to during our fundraising cycle. Was, wow, you really did what you said you were going to do. That's amazing. So that hard work paid off. We were really excited about it.
And how do you begin to make projections, looking at the past years and kind of ongoing success? What would you like to see happen, let's say, over the next 2 years for Eventbrite?
Sure. Over the next 2 years, I'd love to see us, be the market leader in the sort of long tail of events, so small to medium-sized events, and really be able to propel that enablement and empowerment. That's what we're really, really passionate about. I can imagine, if we do that, and when we get there, we may start seeing larger events happen on Eventbrite. We may start, being able to support, pretty large live experiences. And our 5-year goal is to be the only place you would ever go to buy a ticket for any event you would ever attend. So there's a lot between here and there.
And outside of your two co-founders, when you have kind of professional questions or are seeking advice, do you have another set of mentors or someone else that you go to?
We do. We're really, really lucky. We have an incredible village of experts and creative people that have come to us mostly through, Kevin's work in being a serial entrepreneur and being in the angel investing community and having these great connections. We have an incredible team of advisors and investors who we call on almost daily. So each one of them has their acute expertise, and we really do utilize that when we have problems that we can't readily solve ourselves. And so we're very, very lucky to have, a whole host of people supporting us. Everybody from Jeremy Stoppelman, who obviously has the acute expertise in local strategy, to Sean Moriarty, who's the ex-CEO of Ticketmaster and all-around great operator, to Roelof Botha, who's incredible from Sequoia, to Michael and Sochi Birch, who helped us figure out how we could work together as a couple and be successful. So, and a lot of different people that I'm not naming who are equally brilliant.
And one thing that I think is really important to mention is that you and Kevin have a small daughter.
Me too.
And I imagine that becomes a scheduling challenge as far as your work as co-founders.
Yeah, so I think that overall, so working together, we had to have a motto, and that really came from our mentors, Michael and Sochi, which was divide and conquer. Don't work on the same thing at the same time. You get somewhere 2 times faster if you have complementary skills and can work in tandem. So we've taken that and applied that to being parents as well, which is, we're always, it's always a work in progress, but it's really understanding where your priorities are and working from there. And so, obviously our priority is our family and Emma, but we also have sort of an interesting situation where we have this other baby called Eventbrite. And so we've been able to create a life where everything, for the most part, is harmonious and in tandem. Of course, we have our off days, but generally we're very lucky to have both of our parents live nearby, as well as others who help us make it happen. But it's always a work in progress, that's for sure.
And has being a new mom changed your view of managing Eventbrite in any ways? I imagine
it's been interesting. I've grown in both areas almost in tandem. So when we had Emma, we had 3 employees, and we had just hired there were the 3 of us, and we just hired our first employee, and we had just taken our first amount of outside money. So really, it was sort of the infancy of Eventbrite, as well as having a new baby. It was like this incredible experience where everything happened in tandem. So I have learned how to manage our daily life as well as manage people in general, manage people on our team. So I wouldn't say that one informs the other. I would just say that you know, I'm learning in all areas. I'm still very much a student of both.
And in seeking that first round of capital, were you asked at all about being married to one of the co-founders? Because I imagine that becomes a tricky question for people to wrap their head around as far as, will this work?
Sure. My perception of it is that in any partnership, you have to make sure that those partners are in a healthy relationship. It doesn't matter if you're related or if you're married or, you know, if you're 2 strangers. And so I'd say that the amount of concern or questions that we received were completely on par with what anybody would receive. You know, I mean, I think we got asked generally, how do you work together and how does that work? But I think it's, you know, from our point of view, it's important for any partnership to know where their boundaries are and how they operate together. And so for Kevin and I, it's again that divide and conquer, and also having that sort of emergency exit strategy, which we, you know, hope to never have to use, but we know what our action plan would be if things like, you know, were to go bad, which...
Can you talk a little bit about Renault and how you brought on a technical co-founder, and knowing what set of skills you would need to call on him for?
Sure. So we paired up with Renault very early on. We launched Eventbrite with Renault, and we just knew that he was an incredible architect. And so he was able to sort of see everything from the larger vision, but also get very granular, which is super, super important when you're building product. You have 1 engineer, right? He's also an incredible, you know, just powerhouse and churns out things left and right. And we were able to build, you know, the majority of the sort of infrastructure of our product in those first 2 years with very limited resources. And I'd say that, you know, again, it's like anything else when you're looking for a partner. Do you have the same, you know, do you have the same ideas about what you want to build, and do you understand sort of what your end goal is? And so for us, we just were really lucky that we were able to make it work with Renault being remote, and you know, us having never worked together before. It was a little bit of luck as well.
Last question for you. When you first walk into the Eventbrite offices, there is a monitor that shows kind of in real time where ticket sales are happening around the world.
Yeah.
And I'm curious about some of the events that you've seen just kind of come through the network that you've been shocked by.
Oh my gosh, we have so many incredible events, and they run the gamut of vertical, size, you know, location. I mean, we have 15% of our events happen overseas, totally organic. We haven't, you know, spent any time on localization. But in the U.S. alone, you know, on any given day, we'll see, you know, a stamp making club meeting to, you know, a 20,000 person rave or political convention to, you know, underground dining events to big, huge fundraisers that we didn't even know were happening on Eventbrite, and which we're so happy to support. So it's honestly, every day we're surprised by a new event, and we share events constantly among the team, and it's so exciting to see all the different kinds of events that can happen, you know, by using Eventbrite, which is, again, what keeps us going.
Well, thank you so much. This was a real pleasure.
Thanks.
Appreciate it, and best of luck.
Absolutely. Thank you.